to another video on the Grand Market line. Before we get going, I'd just like to say thank you for watching my videos. And if you would, please like, subscribe, and leave a comment below. All right, let's kick things off. So to begin with, let's talk about Shanks. Shanks was one of those big price tag cards that when it came out, it was costing you around $700. But then there was a window of time that it dropped to as low as $596. I bring up that point because, like the promotional cards, they're new right now and everybody wants them. With that being said, I think, like Shanks, there's going to be a nice window where these cards decline in price, and that's when we go in and we want to pick them up. But as we can see, some of these promotional cards, well, in this case, manga Shanks, not a promotional cards, they can pick their value back up over time. So we start to see Shanks, it was at 700, it went to 596, and then crawled its way back up to what we see now today, sitting around $735. So we look over here, Goku. He starts off really high price tag, $80. He drops off quickly to 72, and then today we can see he's further dropped to 61. I did a little digging and I noticed that the Treasure Cups ended on February 23rd. February 23rd is the last Treasure Cup. I bring up that point because that gives us 10 more days. Today's the 13th when I'm filming this video. 10 more days for more copies of this card to be released. And anytime there's more of a supply for people to pick up these copies, or it's easier for them to get these cards, then the price goes down. It's simple supply and demand. So 10 days at least, I think we can safely wait to see this price go down even more. I think after that, you'll see it drop even more, and there'll be that window, like previously mentioned with Shanks, where we can pick it up and then it might start climbing over time. With that said, you want to pick up cards like Goku or other promotional cards when you feel like they've hit their rock bottom price. I sadly went in on this promotional card, Yamato, way too early when the game first came out. It was the first couple weeks of the game. I was looking up deck builds and I wanted to play the game. I saw that some of them were using Yamato, so I quickly invested into her. However, around the time she was around $20 and she's dropped to $379. Had I just waited like Goku, I probably could have picked it up cheaper. However, that's not to say that I don't think Yamato over time will go back up. I blindly invested into her not knowing the game or how promotional packs worked in One Piece, but I do now. I was going back to my days in Yu-Gi-Oh! Where when you played in Yu-Gi-Oh! You got a tournament pack and they gave you all sorts of cards as well, different tournament cards, and they also gave you ultimate rares. So here I was quickly thinking that anything from the original promo packs that was One Piece, knowing how hyped the game was, I thought there's no way that I can lose my money in a card like this. But I did, and it's the only card that I've lost my money in. And now I want to learn from that experience, especially when investing into cards like Goku. So it's my personal opinion, with my experience with Yamato, that wait on Goku, give it that 10-day buffer at least. Then after that, make a decision. But I think it'll even fall a little bit further after that. Then you can pick it up. I still do, in the long run, in many, many years, think that these original promotional cards from the very beginning are going to hold some good value. I wouldn't completely turn my head to these, but also don't jump into them on the first weeks of them being out. Here we have Monkey D. Luffy. It's just another winner card, which is huge. Like, you have to win a local tournament to get that. That's really cool. But even it, despite it being something hard to get, has still lost lots of value over time, starting at around $55. And now today we can get it for $19.70 plus a little bit of shipping. So these promotional cards, like mentioned before, do so far have a history of dropping off. Now, there is the exceptions. I believe the pre-release Luffy, which I have later on in the video, has continued to climb over time. But what's so unique about him is that he was in a super pre-release tournament. It was a hard tournament to get into, or at least not a lot of people knew about it. One of the two. Regardless, it had that inclusive feeling to it. And now that card's worth so much. And you had to win the tournament, which is huge. The same thing is like what I think the promotional cards that the winners from the top 8, the top 64, I think those cards will go up in value too from the Treasure Cup this weekend, because this was our first big tournament. anytime you have that nostalgic feel that revolves around a card, it can break the barriers of whether a promotional card typically goes down or not. It's the first of its kind. It's so unique. So really try to identify those when you can. But we'll talk about all that a little bit more later in the video. Another promotional card from the Treasure Cup. I won't try to pronounce his name. I'll just mess it up. But I just wanted to show my viewers kind of what some of the cards look like. Maybe some of you already know. But again, it's a card that I think is going to go down in value over time. It doesn't have any play in the future meta that I'm aware of. I've heard that if the film cards get more powerful, it could be a go-to card, but we don't have any information supporting that currently at the moment. Uta is yet another one of the promotional cards that you could have got at the Treasure Cup in one of the promo packs. I have heard that she doesn't have much play in the future meta. If someone else is aware of something different, please let me know. But again, I think this price is going to be driven down. Next to talk about is Genbay. This is the one promotional card that I've heard has meta play in the future. He would be used in the Flamingo deck because of that 7 Warlords of the Sea typing. So he's something to keep an eye on. His pricing is a little high right now, 80 higher than the others, but that's understandable considering that he has play in the future meta. But again, I think just like the others, he has a future of going down for a little bit before he goes back up. Ace looks really good on this card. I'm really excited to try to get my hands on this one. But like we kind of mentioned before, I'm going to wait those couple of weeks where I think he's going to go lower in price. Long term, real long term, I think a character like Ace with his fan favorite type of love, I think he's got a good future as far as going up in price. But just the first couple of weeks, I'm going to try to let him go down and see if I can't steal him for a little cheaper. Next up, we have the Super Pre-Release winner. This is one of those exceptions to the rule card that I was talking about with promotional cards. Right now, promotional cards as a whole have been declining. But a card like Monkey D. Luffy, if they do decline, it's going to be for a very short amount of time and then spike back up. That's in reference to what I'm talking about when I get to the championship cards right here in the next tab. So Monkey D. Luffy might have already experienced this little drop before he went up. This history might not show it. I don't know for certain. But usually cards tend to have a slight lull when they come out. This is showing that he didn't, but I wasn't there in the time that this card came out to really tell you what had happened. But I think, for instance, when it comes to these cards, the Zoro card that was from the Championship Treasure Cup winners, the Tony Chopper, and the Monkey D. Luffy. My information could be slightly off here, but I believe Chopper was one in the top 64 players or so that got to the top 64 in the Treasure Cup. They all got a copy of this Chopper card. Zoro, I believe you had to make it to the top 8. And then just judging by the price tag over here on Luffy, this looks like a winner card to me. If any of that information is wrong, please let me know. But it's this fan favorite love for Luffy and this fan favorite love for Zoro that I think is truly what's going to make these cards climb in the future. I even think that Tony will climb in the future, the Chopper card, because who doesn't like Chopper? But he's not like that main character that you think of when you think of the show. Let me give you a little example of what I'm talking about. So if we come over here, this is just showing that this is one of the cards you had to get from placing in with the championship bracket. I just want to mention that, show that proof. But what I mean is fan favorite cards tend to go up way more in value. When this envelope came out, this World Championship envelope for Yu-Gi-Oh! I played that as well. It's another card game I enjoy. When this came out, this was around $1,000 to $1,200. Today, it's at $2,800. That's a huge jump. It's a World Championship card. They're very hard to find, very hard to get. And the same goes for this next World Championship pack I'm going to show you, but it contained Red Eyes and Monster Reborn. However, you can see the price is way lower. Why am I saying all this? I'm saying all this in reference to the cards that were won in this championship. People will buy things based off of their love for just the characters in general. Red Eyes for Yu-Gi-Oh! Isn't a bad people. People love Joey, but do they love him as much as they love Yugi? Okay, let's say that for One Piece. People love Chopper, but do they love him as much as Luffy or Zoro? I would argue they don't. I would argue that more people like Zoro and Luffy than they do Chopper. And for that reason, I think Zoro and Luffy are the longer term holds. I think Chopper might go up in value, probably will. He's hard to get, but not nearly the jumper climb that Zoro will have. And yes, I'm saying that Chopper will go up and not down like Red Eyes. This is the beginnings of a game. This is the base, the origin. These are the first of their kind, so that does add a little bit to the price tag. There's other championship cards you can find for Yu-Gi-Oh! So this being the first, I think will help it kind of push up rather than decline from its original standing point. That is long term. As I've mentioned with all these promotional cards, I think in the next 10 days, maybe month, they'll go down a little bit. That stands for all of these cards. I think their availability is going to be the highest it's ever going to be in these next couple weeks. But after that, I think they're going to be hard to find. Let me know if you agree. Is this the most expensive we'll ever see these cards? Will they stay the same? Will they drop a little bit and then go back up in price? Let me know what you think. I'd love to hear. Thank you so much for watching.